like they bank accounts.
Whoever just said this your city's you're about to get permanently banned.
And in pancake.
If you're online, generally you've probably heard of coworker music. Bonus points if you're employed. To most people, coworker music generally is just things that are mainstream, safe, or totally the opposite and really weird. And we've all had that one coworker who tried to put you onto music, maybe a Billboard hit, maybe some deep cut experimental jazz funk new metal fusion, and maybe you've been that coworker yourself. Don't worry, we still love you, we just make fun of you. A lot. The fact that so many people have a sense of this without a true dictionary definition really shows how significant of a presence coworker music as a concept has in our lives. And it could be dogshit self-promo on social media, or the most safe retail tunes ever. But in this video, I want to go over a couple things. I want to define coworker music, I want to outline the case against it, and I want to provide a defense for its existence. Right now, there is no true, strong definition for coworker music, and in this video, I'm going to be referring to it as kind of music a coworker would show you, listen to, or that you and a coworker would be forced to listen to at work. It should also, to some extent, make you ask who is the target audience for this. Granted, if you can answer that question, that's still important too. It can be mainstream, experimental, social media slop, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as it embodies a majority of these qualities, I would categorize it as such. There are some other general difficulties and problems I have with trying to define such a known yet open to interpretation phenomenon that I'll talk about later on in the video. The case against coworker music that I've seen online is as follows. The music sucks, you're at a place of work so you can't really escape it, and it's a coworker, so it's related to people that you can't get away from, and being forced to deal with other people and their tastes that are very different to your own can be difficult to endure. You know, a lot of these tracks and artists thought of with this description make generally repetitive and annoying music that lacks depth and character that people who are music heads or enjoyers might not want to listen to. And another point being is that it's either too monotonous and repetitive, or often the opposite and possibly distracting you from your work. The genericness and repetition of certain mainstream and pop artists like Imagine Dragons, Maroon 5, Tones and I, Ed Sheeran, Meghan Trainor, Benson Boone, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, etc., makes them perfect targets. Obviously, there are more artists who fit this description than just those.
Chad, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of fucking with the song.
You know what's crazy? The more I'm editing this video, the more I'm starting to fuck with the song. This joint kinda catchy. It got me singing along and shit.
For the first point of my defense, I want to bring up that it's in the title. Co-worker music. It's meant for work, to fill space, to fill time, and to help time pass. It's not supposed to be your favorite thing or entertain you. It's just supposed to be there. And in many environments, companies cannot play their workers' favorite songs because it doesn't fit that space and necessary accommodations of it, as well as the rights required to play music at a store. If I walk into an H&M and, God forbid, I hear like, H&M is not going to be there much longer. I'm going to have to talk to your manager type shit. I'll crash out for real. At work, music is not supposed to generally be the main thing keeping you going. It's supposed to be in the background. You're supposed to be focused on your tasks. The context of hearing this at work might not be the same level of intensity as when you're home. For example, if the work playlist is filled with stuff you really don't like, and then something that's still really bad but not as bad as the others, that song is relatively better than anything else on the work playlist, you might not mind that much when it comes on. You know, if everything on the work playlist is worse than a Taylor Swift song, you know, and that one comes on, yeah, I'm okay with that because it's relatively better than everything else here. You know, there are two songs in general that I think are a really good example of this. I'll play them right now, but this first one is the perfect example of I hate this is the worst song here, for sure. And then the next song is just, I really hate everything here. This one isn't on the same level of bad as that first one. The context can make certain things okay. And if you listen to a song at work, you probably might not listen to it at home, but because it's at work, it might be more acceptable, simply because you're not home. The sanctity of home and what that means in modern society is a video I could make all on its own and have written many a collegiate paper about, but I digress. This point boils down to, in caveman words, home safe, work not so safe, so work more okay to not be so safe. For the second point of my defense, you know, when you listen to this kind of music, it is usually with other people at work. You guys are involved in a forced sense of camaraderie. You can't escape it, and it can bring you and your coworkers closer. I have some coworkers right now at one of my part-time jobs where we have some hated songs and we get to complain anytime they come on, and it's fun. It's how we became more friendly, just straight D1 hating. But if we compare that back to the last argument, incorporate that, if you hear some of these songs in a few years' time, it'll bring you back with some level of a nostalgia factor. But unfortunately, this point only works if you change to a better job or are in a better place, and if you're not, oh, I feel bad for you. The last part of this point I want to emphasize for real is just touch grass. If you're a music snob, it can be a good thing to get out into the real world and hear what real people are really listening to. Not everyone is at home listening to In the Aeroplane over the whatever, this album sucks. But you get my point. Not everyone's pulling up to the function with Fishman's playing out the whip. Real people might end up listening to the radio, songs, and artists that happen to fit in with this coworker music category that the internet has created. Showing someone you know something that you enjoy can take a certain level of intimacy. I showed one of my best friends West Side Gun recently and some not so great songs in his catalog, and I'll be honest, I wasn't sure how this friend was going to react, but they did so just fine. But there's that uncertainty of how to gauge a reaction, and that is at the heart of this idea of sharing is caring. You're opening up a part of you not visible to others often. Now, I'll be honest, most of the time, you and your coworkers will have thoughts and opinions and arguments about anything, but ultimately the idea of this shared experience brings forth a united front. Unless, of course, your coworkers enjoy the music, which brings us into point number 3. This is the ultimate point of the video. The other two defenses pale in comparison to the importance of this last section. Coworker music as a concept and superimposed genre both deserve to exist and have fans, and some level of audience. With the sharing is caring point and up until now, I've operated under a couple assumptions. The first assumption being that you don't like the music, and the second being that your coworkers also don't like the music. And if either of these happen to be false, congratulations, you like what you like, I guess. The ultimate point of this video is that perspective is everything, and what one person might enjoy, the other people might not enjoy.
Everything is person to person.
Your coworker who enjoys Maroon 5 might not enjoy Tones and I, or something like that. But the simple fact is that this person who enjoys an artist categorized as coworker music means that technically they're breaking out of the mold. They're breaking out of this internet matrix and superimposedness that we forced on them. And we've all probably been that coworker as well who tries to put someone onto music, but the simple fact is that people might not enjoy what you want them to listen to. When I was working in a grocery store, I had a coworker who asked me what kind of music he should listen to, and I wrote him a long list of current and past rap classics that in my opinion are essential listens. And the worst thing to happen is that he doesn't like a suggestion or he just doesn't listen. And yeah, we make fun of the coworker who will say shit like Playboi Carti and opium is the future of rap, or that Tom MacDonald is bringing a real message to the unwashed masses. But really, music as entertainment is naturally going to be something that not everyone likes a certain way. It could be generational, a class of subculture, nostalgia, or just situational circumstance that causes someone to like something. We form bonds consciously and subconsciously with our surrounding environment as people, as an extension of ourselves, and being object-oriented. The classic saying goes that one man's trash is another man's treasure, and that's just what it is. Music is an extension of ourselves and who we are as our identity. And tapping into that fundamental question of the human experience of who am I, you might not be someone who enjoys coworker music, but someone else might be. In economics, there's a concept called elastic and inelastic demand. Go along with me here. But it's about how much demand is flexible, pliable, and how much it can change. It's a spectrum where the more elastic something is, aka the smaller a change in one thing leads to a larger change in another, and the less elastic change leads to less and less change. The classic examples of elastic and inelastic are gas prices and insulin, respectively. From a more math sense of understanding, think of it like you're at point 0, 0. the origin. If you move right one spot and up 3, that's more elastic than moving one right and one up, since your slope is 3 instead of 1. And think of it like if you multiply x by 3, it's going to grow more than if you multiply x by 0 or by 1. Think of your favorite song. You might not have liked that song or that artist until something clicked and you suddenly enjoyed it. I would categorize that as pretty elastic because at first you didn't enjoy it, but all of a sudden you did. And inelastic can't make such a large change so quickly. And preferences in general can be inelastic or elastic, but given our social nature as humans, it makes sense for music in situational spaces like working environments to match that and follow what is socially normal and acceptable in our current vernacular. It makes sense to play Sabrina Carpenter and whoever else is popular right now because they're popular right now. And taste and preference might be some of the most elastic demand there is given the vast spectrum of people who exist in the world. For some, it could be that they only listen to what they listen to and nothing else ever again. I'd say that's pretty inelastic, and the opposite for people who are constantly staying up to date and listening to new things. And overall, these kinds of ideas are not wrong, and no one is wrong for liking or disliking what they do, but it makes sense why some enjoy it, why some don't, and some have no stakes. And for all the economists and people out there criticizing my approach here, yeah, I could have taken a more behavioral approach where I talk about how most people are generally sharing risk-averse preferences instead of risk-loving, as in when you lose something you tend to be more risk-loving, aka willing to gamble if it means you lose less, whereas when you gain something you tend to hesitate and be risk-averse. This is because the vision of the payoff seems clearer and less uncertain. If I walked up to you in the street and I offered you $50 guaranteed, or if we coin flip for 60. 60 might not be enough of a change from 50 to add in the gamble effect. And there's a point where your risk aversion changes because your quantifiable happiness from both options are the same. If I raise that number to 75, you're definitely more willing to gamble on it than you are for 50, especially if I raise it up to 100. 50-50 chance for 100, people would start taking that. All this to say, most people probably won't be going out to listen to a ton of new things they haven't heard before, and are usually more likely to judge a song they don't like. But blah blah blah, whatever. And it makes sense why coworker music is hated the way it is. For a lot of people, it's not the kind of thing they would like to listen to. For some, music is more enjoyed in a private or solo environment than wherever they work or shop. Music could be something they like but are not diehard into, like us nerds out here. And to some people, they don't place high value in certain areas of entertainment, and that's totally fine. Not everyone's going to see eye to eye, and that means having different understandings and levels of tastes and preferences in the kinds of entertainment mediums we consume and retroactively make dissertations upon in regards to how important these things are in our lives. There's a Professor Sky video where he talks about Dream's song Mask. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the song is good, because that would be a lie. Professor Sky declared it as 2021's Song of the Year.
I am declaring the song Mask by YouTuber Dream as the Song of the Year.
Not because the song is good or bad, but because it is the most culturally relevant song as far as what the lyrics are saying. The idea of feeling pent up in a world and environment where you're forced to pretend to be someone else and put on this cover to hide your true identity and true self and true nature is culturally relevant to people in their teens and beyond. Society right now begs of you to be something you might not be. In general, we find ourselves being more judgmental of others than maybe we were even a few years earlier. Being interconnected to social media and in tune with things like that messes with your head, which is why earlier in the video I said touching grass is so good. And sometimes it really is that damn internet. This song represents the idea of coworker music in every avenue. Both the instrumental and lyrics, but also the concept of the song. Being judged and not wanting to be judged is something the very concept of coworker music represents and extrapolates. Overall, what we see is not what everyone sees. What's stopping our coworker from thinking the music that we listen to is coworker music? What's stopping our peers from judging us the way we judge them back in this environment with this judgmental term that represents nothing more than the current social climate? That is the core idea I'm getting at with the Professor Sky and Mask by Dream video, and why I'm brought up risk aversion and elasticity, because some people are seriously averse to getting judged and reacted to for their genuine musical opinions. And yeah, I'm of the take that some people have bad opinions, but I think they should still be able to voice that and be into the things they're into. And that's kind of why I generally don't vibe with this whole coworker music term thing, because at the end of the day, to me, it's all perspective, and a lot of people are not able to see that. I don't know. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Maybe this is too complex for you, maybe I'm just scratching the surface. Maybe it's not enough. But that's all I got for you. The Dank Pancake out.